Testimonial 3, Quid pro quo. In previous videos, I addressed the Operation Chameleon, operation led by intelligence agency in Croatia, and capture of major civil society actors. I as well touched upon unexplained death of the activist Darko Jurisic and accidental mafia assassination of innocent citizen Zoran Dominic. In those days, international interventions in democratic stabilization through mobilization of civil society continued across the Western Balkans. Civil movement resistance that covered today's Serbia and Montenegro was one of the most visible ones at that time. This type of external intervention that rests on centralized coordination of the civil society actors was as well one of the keys for the failure to reform of these two societies, and one of the key elements that led to my decisions today. Meanwhile, in Croatia, post-election period was rather chaotic. While transfer of the government was peaceful, the executors of the previous regime were engaged in massive documents destruction in order to prevent their exposure to criminal justice system. Copies of the documents from criminal investigations, information gathered through intelligence operations, or simply documents on specific internal decisions of different government sectors were buried across the Western Balkans in obscure places. This information and knowledge was used in negotiation with the new government in order to create culture of impunity that we know even today. It was another key aspect that led to impact on today's inability of the justice system and political system to establish the rule of law. While I concentrate on Croatia at this time, these events took place in each and every of Western Balkan countries. In parallel, many of my fellow activists as well took place in monetization of their contribution to the government in power. They become members of different coordination bodies, public positions, or they were simply given the money for no reason. Aside from this endeavor of the civil society actors to monetize their participation in the last 99 campaign and defending the new government, that was more or less illustrated by the cases of the Josip Kregar or Team Gazivoda. There were other means and ways to monetize. For example, Open Society Institute in Croatia played one of the roles in this. On the contrary to the belief of right-wing activists and conspiracy theorists that George Soros himself is governing Open Society Institutes across the world, this in fact is not the case, especially in areas such as Western Balkans or Croatia. While George Soros might benefit from the intelligence and information on political dynamics that he gathers through the work of Open Society Institute chapters, his actual influence over their decision-making is very limited. And this is very important to understand in order to understand the overall culture of corruption that affects us all. The actual control over OSI chapters is in the hands of the key local actors and decision-making influencers. In the case of Croatia, several interests dominated the work of the OSI Croatia. People in charge of the Croatian Law Center, people around Croatian Helsinki Committee, and Josip Kregar himself were some of the key actors that made the calls. The scheme developed by those actors was very simple. The key influencers will make sure that their organizations, or organizations that are their allies, will get the money and deploy very weak accountability mechanisms for the further expenditure. I'll take just one illustrative example of such a doing. For example, immediately upon elections, Croatian Law Center got 1.5 million US dollars for funding from OSI for so-called government decentralization. The main aim of this project was to decentralize the powers of the government and to regain the position of the municipalities in a future governance regime in Croatia. To this stage, no one knows actually what happened with this $1.5 million and how it was spent, nor there were ever publicly available detailed financial report on the activity. However, decentralization 20 years later remains a problem in Croatia. Observing my colleagues, some of them being friends at the time, taking those positions and monetizing their contribution to the campaign made me worried about the future of civil society, about the future of development of Croatia, Western Balkans, and consequently the rest of the Europe. Because this trend that was repetitive and obviously replicated throughout the Europe was endangering the very system of democracy, setting the pace for captured societies that we suffer from today. Therefore, witnessing all of that, and accompanied by a very sad picture of misuse of funds, over $250 million that were assigned for reconstruction of Eastern Slavonia, made me design my first systemic response to corruption, anti-corruption program.
As some of you already know, we are in this last effort to change the way we think and act against corruption. And here is what I want you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. And every day, take 10 minutes of your life. Watch the video, share it, and ask your friends to share it further. If we succeed in this, they cannot stop it. Finally, participate. For each video, I want you to become a juror and adjudicate and give your opinion on what you believe is the truth and what you believe is right and wrong done by different actors. If you want to save others in this fight, donate to the account on the screen under the title Save the Fight. That's all what I want from you.